had something to say back. And then Ja
got in there. I didn't see that the first time.
I saw that the first time.
So we got some drama in the NBA world, and I love it, involving Morant and Klay Thompson.
New footage has surfaced showing an explosive clash between Klay Thompson and Morant, and the whole situation spiraled way beyond regular trash talk on the court. What started as simple back and forth during a heated Mavericks-Grizzlies matchup suddenly turned personal.
So Morant, during Kim Spencer's post-game interview, he goes, "Tell him who's the best shooter in the house. It wasn't bro from Golden State." His Grizzlies did play the Dallas Mavericks, which he's talking about Klay Thompson. He's throwing the shot, right? And honestly, I don't see nothing wrong with it.
And right when it looked like the tension had finally cooled down, a shocking twist erupted that left fans frozen in disbelief. The night everything blew up was supposed to be nothing more than a regular Western Conference game. Just another mid-season matchup that NBA fans barely circle on the calendar. But on November 22nd, 2025.
Hey, that sounds personal, You hear me? Most of the time when you have an altercation, when cooler heads prevail, once you get to the locker room, you sweep it under the rug. But he ain't sweep it under the rug.
Inside the American Airlines Center in Dallas, the basketball world got hit with a moment that instantly hijacked social feeds, dominated sports talk shows, and sent the entire league into a frenzy. Here's how the whole mess started. The Memphis Grizzlies rolled into Dallas for what looked like a standard in-season tournament game, but anyone paying attention could feel something tense bubbling underneath the surface. The arena was already crackling with energy before the opening tip, and the vibe was way closer to a playoff elimination battle than anything you'd expect in November. Memphis came in wounded, missing key players and trying to stay afloat without their explosive star, Morant, who was sidelined with a lingering calf strain.
And then with Ja, he's a funny guy. He has a lot to say all the time, especially for a guy who rarely takes accountability. But you know what? That's for another day.
What did Ja have to say on this occasion?
Nothing of intelligent depth. It was really just running his mouth.
But even without their leader, the Grizzlies were determined to show they weren't backing down from anyone. Dallas, on the other hand, had their own pressure boiling, featuring newly added veteran sharpshooter Klay Thompson, paired with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. The Mavericks were desperate to finally build momentum after an inconsistent start to the season. From the jump, the whole game felt different. The physicality was turned all the way up, with both teams refusing to give an inch. Bodies crashed, arms tangled, and every possession felt like a battle. The aggressive defense on both sides sparked chippy exchanges and a string of hard fouls that kept raising the temperature. The first half turned into a slow, grinding fight for control, with neither team able to pull away or find any real comfort on the floor. Every possession added pressure, every whistle added fuel, and every stare down pushed the energy closer to something nobody expected that night.
And he's been running his mouth for a long time, and it's funny to run your mouth when you're on the bench. It's kind of the story of his career so far, just leaving us wanting more. We all want to see him out there and do his best, but he's just been letting a lot of other stuff get in the way of that.
The Grizzlies showed surprising resilience without their star point guard, leaning on balanced scoring and relentless defense that kept them alive all night. Meanwhile, the Mavericks couldn't find their rhythm to save themselves. Shots that normally drop were clanking off the rim, and passes that usually snap cleanly were suddenly drifting off target, as if the whole team was out of sync. As the second half began, all those small moments of irritation, hard screens, lingering elbows, unexplained bumps, started stacking up like dry wood, just waiting for the right spark to ignite everything. That spark came midway through the game when Klay Thompson got into a heated exchange with Grizzlies forward Santi Aldama after what Klay clearly believed was a dirty play involving Mavericks rookie sensation Cooper Flagg. Flagg, the highly hyped first overall pick, had been under a spotlight from day one.
And we need that in the NBA. We need our best players to be out there. And when you're a star, it comes with a great responsibility. And I hate to see that go to waste.
And during a loose ball scramble, Aldama appeared to either trip him or grab him too aggressively, depending on who you ask. Klay didn't hesitate for even a second. Embracing his role as the veteran protector, he immediately stepped toward Aldama and made it clear that nobody was going to rough up the Mavericks' young star without getting checked for it. This moment wasn't just another basketball argument. It was about loyalty, drawing a line and showing every young player on that roster that they had someone who would stand up for them no matter what. But that flare-up with Aldama was only the beginning. As the energy shifted and the arena started buzzing with tension, Klay found himself in yet another verbal clash, this time with Grizzlies guard Vince Williams Jr. The two got tangled on a play Klay felt was laced with unnecessary flopping, exaggeration designed to bait the officials into blowing the whistle. Klay, who built his entire career on straightforward, hard-nosed basketball, wasn't having it. To him, that type of acting crossed the line into something that ruined the spirit of competition, and he let Williams Jr. know exactly how he felt.
You know, he took little shots. He took little shots as if he was sitting on the other side of the spectrum like an analyst, like a pundit, you know, taking subtle shots based on his character and his actions and some of the things he's done on and off the court.
With every rebound fought over, every screen that sounded like a collision, and every glare exchanged between players, the crowd only got louder. You could feel the hostility climbing with each possession, and both teams leaned into it. Despite Klay's intense energy and his strong stat line, finishing with 22 points, including a smooth 6 for 11 from deep, the Grizzlies never lost their composure. They stayed locked in, controlled the pace, and held firm throughout the second half as the pressure kept building towards something nobody was prepared for. Key contributions came from players nobody expected, with role guys stepping into the space left by Morant's absence and delivering when it mattered most. The battle stayed tight all the way into the final minute, but everything shifted when Klay Thompson launched a crucial three-pointer that rattled out at the worst possible time. That miss cracked the Mavericks' momentum, and the Grizzlies capitalized, closing out a hard-earned 102-96 win that left the arena buzzing.
It just doesn't, I mean, you got to get a little lucky in this league, I've learned too. Like, you got to get some breaks with injuries. I mean, Paul and I have been through it, but just lucky to still be going for 5. Like, when I say that, I have no complaints. Like, I'll do it all over again.
But here's the twist. The game itself, as intense as it was, became nothing more than a footnote compared to what unfolded seconds after the buzzer. As the Grizzlies celebrated their tough road victory, Morant, dressed in street clothes with his blue hoodie and unmistakable dreadlocks, stepped onto the court, and that's where the real story began. Sports analysts later dissected the moment frame by frame, and Shannon Sharpe summed it up perfectly during his breakdown of the footage. At first, Ja looked harmless, hyping up Grizzlies rookie Cam Spencer during his post-game interview. He was shouting encouragement, celebrating the young guard's performance and giving him extra shine after a breakout night. But then everything shifted, instantly and dramatically. Multiple camera angles caught the exact moment Ja's focus snapped away from Spencer and locked onto Klay Thompson. And this wasn't friendly jawing, this wasn't playful. The trash talk that followed was sharp, direct, and aimed straight at one of the greatest shooters the NBA has ever seen. Commentators immediately recognized how bold the moment was, because Ja delivered the line with zero hesitation. As Ja walked toward the area where Klay was standing, still replaying the loss in his mind, he pointed directly at Klay's face, making sure there was no confusion about who he was talking to. What came out of his mouth was a calculated jab meant to sting. Ja essentially brushed off Klay's legendary shooting legacy.
The gun wasn't mine. It's not who I am. I don't condone any type of violence, but I take full responsibility for my actions. Made a bad mistake, and I can see the image that I painted over myself with my recent mistakes. But in the future, I'm gonna show everybody who Ja really is, what I'm about, and change this narrative.
Declaring that Cam Spencer had been the best shooter on the floor that night. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't coded. It was a direct shot at a future Hall of Famer coming from a superstar who wasn't even suited up that night. This wasn't normal post-game banter. This was a straight-up challenge, a deliberate provocation, and the moment everyone watching realized something far bigger was brewing beneath the surface. Ja's jab was aimed straight at a 4-time NBA champion, with one of the most decorated careers the league has ever seen, and Klay Thompson's reaction was instant. He slapped Ja's hand out of his face and fired back verbally, snapping the tension from simple trash talk into something explosive that demanded immediate intervention. Within seconds, bodies came rushing in from every direction. Teammates, coaches, security, all scrambling to keep the moment from escalating into something physical. Multiple angles of the footage captured the raw intensity. Ja leaning forward with aggressive, unshakable body language, and Klay refusing to budge an inch, staring him down with a cold glare despite being caught off guard by the boldness of someone who wasn't even in uniform. On the edges of the chaos, young players like Cooper Flagg and Cam Spencer watched wide-eyed.
I'm a dog. I'm a dog. I put work in day out. I've been putting work in, man. I ain't played a game in 8 months. Had a lot of time, learn myself. A lot of hard days, where I went through it. But, basketball is, my life, what I love, therapeutic for me. And I'm just, excited to be back.
Suddenly pulled into a rivalry that was far bigger than anything they'd experienced so far. And even though the entire clash lasted less than a minute, the weight of it was unmistakable. Something real had shifted in that moment. This wasn't just two competitors blowing off steam after a tough game. This was the result of years of built-up tension, old frustrations resurfacing, and two different eras of basketball colliding in full view of a packed arena. It felt like the kind of moment that reveals who's respected, who feels overlooked, and who's tired of pretending everything is friendly. As phones across the arena shot up to capture the confrontation, nobody realized just how massive this clip was about to become. Within hours, it would spread everywhere. Social media, highlight shows, debate tables, with fans dissecting every frame like it was evidence from a major investigation. Even analysts who've seen plenty of heated NBA moments were stunned by how personal this one felt. The tone, the gestures, the timing, everything pointed to deeper tension than anyone expected. Commentators weren't brushing it aside or laughing it off. They spoke about it with genuine concern, calling out the level of disrespect and questioning how the league would respond moving forward. What began as a basketball game had blown open into a wider discussion, touching on respect, leadership, maturity, and the unwritten rules that still quietly shape how players carry themselves in the NBA. This wasn't a moment anyone was going to forget, and the shockwaves had only just begun. As Klay Thompson and Morant were finally pulled apart and escorted in opposite directions, emotions were still boiling and both players were shouting from a distance, refusing to let the moment die. One thing was unmistakable. This story wasn't ending on the court and the fallout was just beginning. If the confrontation was explosive, what happened afterward was flat-out incendiary. Normally, when the final buzzer sounds and players head to their locker rooms, cooler heads settle in, and whatever happened on the court dissolves into the background. But Klay Thompson had zero intention of burying this, or pretending it was just another heated exchange in an 82-game season. What followed was one of the most raw, blisteringly honest post-game interviews the NBA had seen in years. A decorated veteran stepping to the podium and refusing to sanitize a single thought. Standing in front of his locker, still in his post-game gear, Klay delivered each line with a calm intensity that made the room go silent. When reporters asked about the clash with Morant, he didn't dodge, he didn't dilute, and he didn't soften anything. Every sentence landed with force, carrying the weight of his 13-year career, his 4 championship rings, and everything he had fought through, including injuries that would have broken lesser players. But he wasn't done, not even close. But you could tell this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment reaction. This was built-up frustration finally spilling out. Frustration that had clearly been simmering beneath the surface for years. And this moment became the release valve, finally giving him room to say everything he'd been holding back. This wasn't just a veteran returning trash talk. This was Klay calling out what he viewed as wasted potential, inconsistent commitment, and a pattern of behavior that he felt held Morant back from becoming everything the league expected him to be. His disappointment was real, his irritation unmistakable, and his message carried unmistakable weight. Talk means nothing if it's not backed up by discipline, focus, and being available when your team needs you most. Then Klay dropped the final blow, the one that instantly lit up every sports show, every podcast, and every social media feed. Delivered with the confidence of someone who had earned every right to speak on what it truly means to be a star in this league. He made it clear that respect isn't handed out. It's earned through consistency, humility, and real leadership. And with that closing hit, Klay didn't just answer questions. He set the entire NBA world on fire. The reaction from the basketball world was instant and completely split down the middle. The clip of Klay Thompson's post-game interview exploded online, racking up more than 3.4 million views in just a few hours and sparking heated arguments across every corner of social media. Supporters of Klay came out strong, backing every word he said and arguing that his resume alone gave him the right to speak without holding anything back. They pointed to his legendary moments, dropping 60 points in 3 quarters against the Pacers, the jaw-dropping 37-point quarter against the Kings, the record-setting 14 threes in a single game, a resume that puts him among the most elite shooters the league has ever seen. To them, Ja Morant needed to show respect, especially towards someone who had already earned everything the NBA has to offer. But the critics weren't quiet either, not even close. Some hit Klay with accusations of hypocrisy, noting his recent shooting inconsistencies and questioning whether he still lived off past glory. "Why don't you start making some shots so you won't be called a bum, Klay?" One viral reply said, a brutal reflection of the fans who felt Klay was clinging to old memories instead of facing current reality. Others insisted he was talking like it was still 2015, refusing to accept that a new era of explosive young stars had arrived and were shifting the balance of the league. And even seasoned analysts couldn't ignore how personal Klay's comments felt. Shannon Sharpe and his co-host on Nightcap emphasized that this wasn't normal post-game frustration. This was deeper, something that had clearly been simmering for years. To fully grasp why that post-game moment carried so much weight, you have to rewind the clock and look at where this rivalry actually began. The roots stretch back to the 2022 Western Conference semifinals, a matchup that wasn't just another playoff series, but a full-blown collision of different eras, mindsets, and basketball philosophies. That series lit the match. This latest confrontation poured gasoline on it, and the tension that's been growing ever since finally erupted into the moment that the whole world can't stop talking about. On one side stood the Golden State Warriors, Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and the rest of a dynasty that had ruled the NBA for nearly a decade. Multiple championships, record-breaking seasons, and a style of basketball that reshaped the entire league. They were the standard, the blueprint, the model everyone else tried to copy. On the other side stood the Memphis Grizzlies, young, fearless, and unapologetically confident. Led by Ja Morant, whose explosive style pushed the limits between brave and reckless, they embraced their underdog identity like armor. Backed by a roster that fed off emotion, swagger, and defiance, they were determined to show they weren't scared of anyone's rings, reputation, or legacy. The rivalry's true ignition point came during Game 3 of that 2022 Western Conference semifinal matchup, when Morant suffered a knee injury on a play involving Warriors guard Jordan Poole. Morant publicly labeled the play dirty, and the accusation triggered a firestorm. Accusations flew, defensive statements piled up, and both fan bases jumped into the battle like it was a war of loyalty. Klay Thompson, loyal to the core, jumped into the controversy without hesitation. He dismissed Morant's accusations immediately, insisting Poole had no bad intentions at all. And Klay didn't speak from ego, he spoke from experience. After surviving a torn ACL and a ruptured Achilles, injuries that stole 2.5 years of his prime, he understood how serious injury accusations were, and he refused to let someone paint his teammate as reckless without proof. From that moment, the series shifted from competitive to personal. Morant taunted the Warriors bench with social media posts and on-court gestures, including his well-known finger gun celebration and dances that the Warriors viewed as openly disrespectful. To Golden State, it felt like a young team crossing lines they hadn't earned the right to cross. And even though the Warriors eventually closed out the series in 6 games and marched on to win another championship, the bitterness didn't fade. The tension survived like smoke after a wildfire. Still lingering, still thick in the air, Golden State felt disrespected by a young group who hadn't proven themselves but acted like they already owned the league. The Grizzlies felt overlooked and dismissed by a dynasty that refused to acknowledge them as real contenders. Those feelings never disappeared. They just stayed quiet, waiting for the next spark. And years later, that spark came the moment Klay Thompson and Ja Morant locked eyes on that court again. In the years that followed, the rivalry never cooled. It just simmered quietly, fueled by regular season clashes and non-stop social media jabs. Ja Morant kept poking at the Warriors, yelling taunts at Stephen Curry during a 2024 matchup and trading verbal shots that kept the feud alive long after that playoff series ended. Klay Thompson, meanwhile, became increasingly outspoken about what he viewed as Morant's recurring off-court distractions, issues he believed were blocking a generational talent from reaching his true ceiling. He often compared Ja's behavior to past Grizzlies stars like Zach Randolph, players who earned respect through consistent excellence rather than flashy online bravado. And while Klay was never known as a troublemaker, his career was filled with moments that showed his protective instinct and fierce competitive fire. Fans remember his heated clashes with Timberwolves players, confrontations where Klay stepped up for his teammates, even when he was outnumbered or staring down players far bigger than him. Those weren't examples of him starting chaos. They were proof of a warrior who refused to let disrespect slide or let his teammates stand alone. So when Klay made the decision to leave Golden State and join the Dallas Mavericks in the 2024 offseason through a sign-and trade, it was much deeper than a simple roster move. It was a reset, a chance to rediscover joy, reshape his legacy, and escape the feeling that his role had been reduced or his value questioned in the Bay Area. But a change of jersey didn't erase the past. It didn't dissolve old rivalries. If anything, it sharpened them. And when the Mavericks' schedule brought them head-to-head with the Grizzlies, all those old tensions surged back to the surface like they had never left. By the time November 22nd arrived, the matchup wasn't just another game. It was a collision course years in the making. The confrontation between Klay and Ja wasn't some random flare-up or a spontaneous burst of emotion. It was the natural explosion of years of layered tension, lingering disrespect, and what perceived on both sides, and two completely different philosophies about how to compete, lead, and carry yourself as a star in the NBA. The moment they crossed paths again, all the old wounds ripped open, all the history came roaring back, and the result was the volcanic confrontation that the entire basketball world is still talking about. Klay Thompson looked at Morant and saw everything he believed had gone wrong with the modern NBA. Flash over substance, talking before proving, excuses instead of accountability. And from Morant's side, he likely saw Klay as someone from the past, a decorated veteran hanging onto old glory while criticizing the new generation for having confidence, swagger, and personality. The media coverage after their confrontation was absolutely relentless. Every major outlet, ESPN, Bleacher Report, The Athletic, Yahoo Sports, USA Today, dove deep into the incident, analyzing Klay's post-game comments word for word and revisiting years of tension that shaped this rivalry. On sports talk shows and podcasts, analysts spent entire segments debating whether Klay's criticism was justified or outdated, and whether Morant's escalating trash talk had crossed the line. But the real wildfire ignited online. Social media turned into a battlefield of memes, edits, clips, and non-stop hot takes. The confrontation footage was shared from every angle, slowed down, remixed, captioned, and transformed into dramatic recreations. TikTok creators reenacted the moment for millions of viewers, while YouTube channels uploaded long-form breakdowns dissecting every gesture and every sentence. Fans split sharply along lines of loyalty, generation, and personal values about respect and sportsmanship. Reddit threads on r/NBA exploded into thousands of comments. Twitter debates dragged on for days, and nobody could agree on who was right or wrong. Only that the moment was massive and impossible to ignore. And beneath all the noise, something deeper became clear. This wasn't just about two players exchanging words. This wasn't even just a rivalry. This was a clash of visions for what the NBA should be, a battle over culture, identity, and the unwritten rules that shape how players carry themselves in the league. Should young stars be allowed to talk freely to champions who have proven everything? Or is there a line, a level of respect that needs to be upheld when speaking to veterans who built their legacies through years of consistency? And buried beneath Klay's message was an even heavier question, one he intentionally hinted at. What exactly were the other things getting in Ja Morant's way? Those words didn't get lost in the chaos. They hung in the air, creating a shadow over the entire conversation and pushing fans to revisit Morant's personal history, choices, and challenges. To understand why this moment hit so hard, why it took over every conversation for days, and why everyone from casual fans to longtime analysts couldn't stop talking about it, you have to look deeper at the personal paths that shaped both Klay Thompson and Ja Morant, the obstacles they faced, and the values that now put them on a collision course. To understand how everything built up to that explosive moment on the court, you have to look at more than two players trading sharp words. You have to look at two lives shaped by pressure, expectation, struggle, and the weight of public scrutiny. These aren't just athletes barking at each other. They're complex individuals whose journeys have carved out the versions of themselves we see today. Klay Thompson's path to greatness didn't begin with hype. It began with pure talent, relentless work, and a shooting gift so rare it felt almost unreal. Born into basketball royalty as the son of former NBA champion Michael Thompson, Klay grew up in Southern California surrounded by the game. He absorbed fundamentals early, developed his jumper obsessively, and carried himself like someone who always knew he was built for something bigger. His career at Washington State University put his lethal shot on full display, and when Golden State selected him with the 11th pick in the 2011 NBA Draft, few knew how historic that decision would become. Alongside Stephen Curry, Thompson formed the Splash Brothers, a backcourt duo that didn't just dominate the league, they changed the sport itself. They rewrote the blueprint for modern basketball, proving that three-point shooting could be the backbone of a full-fledged dynasty rather than a side weapon. Klay's resume became the stuff of legend. 4 NBA championships, multiple All-Star appearances, the record for most threes in a game, 14, the unbelievable 37-point quarter, and the iconic 60-point game where he barely needed to dribble. Add in his elite defense, his clutch performances, and the legendary Game 6 against OKC in 2016, and you have one of the most complete two-way guards of his generation. But then came the storm that almost ended everything. During the 2019 NBA Finals, Thompson suffered a torn ACL, a brutal injury that forced him to the sidelines for more than a year. And while fighting through that recovery, disaster struck again. A ruptured Achilles tendon, 2 catastrophic injuries back-to-back, stripping him from the game he had built his entire life around, and leaving him out for more than 2 full seasons. These weren't simple setbacks. These were life-altering moments that made him confront questions no elite athlete ever wants to face. Who am I without basketball? Can I ever be the same? Will my body hold up ever again? He had to rebuild everything from scratch. His body, his confidence, his rhythm, his identity. The process wasn't just physical. It was emotional, psychological, and deeply personal. And every time he came back, critics questioned him. Every slump was magnified. Every missed shot was a headline. Every struggle was treated like proof that his time had passed. Klay fought through all of it. The doubt, the pressure, the whispers, and clawed his way back into relevance with sheer persistence. When you understand that, you understand why he reacts fiercely to disrespect. You understand why he's protective of his legacy. And you understand why a moment with Morant, someone he believes hasn't honored the responsibilities that come with stardom, struck him so hard. This wasn't just trash talk between 2 players. It was the collision of 2 very different journeys, 2 very different mindsets, and 2 very different definitions of what it means to be great in the NBA. Looking back on everything he's survived, Klay Thompson has always kept a grounded perspective about his journey, acknowledging his accomplishments while recognizing how much luck, timing, and resilience shaped his career. His return to the court in January 2022 was emotional, triumphant, and symbolic. And he helped Golden State secure another championship that same season, proving he could still deliver when it mattered. But even with the success, the injuries changed him. His athleticism wasn't quite the same, even though his shooting and competitiveness remained elite. So, when the Warriors front office chose not to prioritize re-signing him in 2024, the decision cut deep. After everything he had given the franchise, the rings, the battles, the pain, the loyalty, he felt overlooked and disrespected. His move to Dallas wasn't about chasing a check or clinging to glory. It was about being valued again, finding a fresh environment, and proving he still had real impact left in his game. In Dallas, he stepped fully into a mentor role, becoming fiercely protective of rookies like Cooper Flagg. That moment during the Memphis matchup, when he stepped in against Santi Aldama to defend his young teammate, wasn't random. It was who he had become, a veteran leader, a guardian, someone determined to teach the new generation the importance of respect and accountability. Ja Morant's story, however, is built from a completely different foundation. He came from Dalzell, South Carolina, a small town that rarely produced national stars. His basketball dreams weren't supposed to reach the national spotlight. Overlooked by major college programs, Morant wasn't hyped early. He wasn't handed anything. Instead, he landed at Murray State University, where his unbelievable athleticism and explosive play style suddenly made him impossible to ignore. His rise was meteoric. With jaw-dropping dunks, incredible court vision, and fearless drives to the rim, he went from under-the-radar recruit to viral sensation almost overnight. Selected second overall by the Memphis Grizzlies in the 2019 NBA Draft, Morant instantly transformed the franchise. He earned Rookie of the Year honors, made the Grizzlies must-watch TV, and pushed them into legitimate Western Conference contention with his bold, electrifying style. But as fast as his star rose, shadows followed. Alongside the highlights and the excitement, Morant's journey became clouded by a series of off-court incidents that sparked serious conversations about judgment, maturity, and the pressures that come with sudden superstardom. His incredible talent remained undeniable, but the obstacles around him began raising deeper questions about what might prevent him from reaching the level many believed he was destined for. And those shadows, those patterns, are exactly what Klay Thompson had in mind when he said Morant had other things getting in his way. In July 2022, Ja Morant faced headlines after a reported altercation involving a 17-year-old during a pickup game at his home. Allegations claimed Morant struck the teen multiple times after a heated exchange, a situation that immediately drew national attention and raised concerns about his decision-making under pressure. Not long after, another report emerged involving a Memphis mall, where Morant and members of his group allegedly confronted and intimidated a store employee during a dispute, further complicating public perception. But the most serious controversies revolved around firearm-related incidents. Early in 2023, associates of Morant were accused of pointing a red laser, rumored to be attached to a weapon, at Indiana Pacers personnel, prompting an NBA investigation into the situation. And then came the moment that truly shook the league. Morant appeared on Instagram Live inside a Denver club, holding what appeared to be a handgun as he danced on camera. The footage spread instantly, leading to an 8-game suspension for violating league conduct rules. When pressed about the incident in an interview, Morant expressed regret and tried to take responsibility, yet just 2 months later, another video surfaced showing him with a firearm inside a vehicle, a repeat situation that NBA Commissioner Adam Silver publicly described as reckless. This second clip resulted in a 25-game suspension to begin the 2023-24 season, a punishment that signaled how seriously the league viewed the behavior. Morant went through counseling, issued public apologies, and spoke openly about wanting to make better choices. But the damage to his reputation didn't disappear overnight, and the pattern continued into the 2024-25 season. In November 2025, he reportedly clashed with coaching staff after a loss to the Lakers, an emotional outburst that led to a 1-game suspension for insubordination. Each incident added more weight to the growing question: could Morant truly step into the leadership role Memphis needed? Or would distractions and emotional decisions keep overshadowing his talent? When he eventually returned to the court after that long suspension, Morant spoke candidly about the mental and emotional strain of being removed from the game he loves, reflecting on the pressure of expectation and the work he needed to do to regain trust. So when Klay Thompson criticized Morant for rarely showing accountability, he wasn't taking a cheap shot. He was speaking from the perspective of someone who had rebuilt his entire career through discipline, patience, and relentless effort. Someone who had fought through 2 catastrophic injuries, stood by his teammates for over a decade, and never once blamed circumstances or outside factors for the challenges he faced. Klay's pointed remark that this was the story of Morant's career so far, leaving people wanting more, wasn't just a jab. It was the frustration of a veteran watching a superstar risk his potential through repeated lapses in judgment. It was a warning wrapped in tough honesty, delivered by someone who had earned the right to speak on what true perseverance looks like. In the immediate aftermath of the confrontation, speculation erupted about possible disciplinary action from the NBA. As of November 23, 2025, the league had not announced any fines or suspensions, though officials confirmed the incident remained under active review. Fans, analysts, and insiders now wait to see whether the league will intervene, and what this means for both Morant and Thompson moving forward. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment with your thoughts. And click on one of the videos on your screen to dive into more stories just like this. See you on the next one.